Hey guys, Ryan here. So we're going to take a look at Project 3 Part 2, and that's going to show us another way to initialize variables. So we're going to start out and come up to the IDE. We're actually going to open project and return to the project that we used last time. So we'll be pulled back there and pick up right where we left off. So first thing we're going to do, instead of using the 3 blocks to declare a variable, let's actually drag those off. I'm going to put the attitude target block back in. We're going to get rid of these 3, and we're actually going to return to the init page. And like I said last time, so the 3 purple blocks in the main actually corresponds to these 3 right here. So you have your X, Y, and Z. So X, we're actually just going to put it back to -1, and this is the same thing as what we did before. So I'm going to go ahead and compile and simulate it. So let's compile and simulate. I'm going to change it to 20, and let's simulate. And then what we should see is that it'll do the same thing that the code did last time. So, yep, so we see that it is now rotating. And once it is done, we can look up here, and you'll see that your X is pointing towards -1. So I'm going to return to the code now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to return to the init page, and we're actually going to look at a different way to do this. So using this new method of having just the 1 purple block in the init page, let's get rid of this and let's create a few different ones that we can work with and try different values. So I'm actually going to create 2. So I'm going to grab that one and one more. And we're going to have one be point positive x, and then the next one be point negative x. And make sure the length for each is 3. So for positive x, I'm going to have the x value be 1, and for negative x, I'm going to have the x value be -1. And now we're actually going to create 4 more, so 2 for x, 2 for y, and 2 for z. So I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to do the same thing. So point positive y, point negative y, point positive z, and point negative z. And set length for each one to 3. And then so for positive y, so we have 0 for x, let's do 1 for y. For negative y, let's do -1 for y. And we'll just leave z blank for now. But, so now we want to return to the main, and so attitude no longer exists, but now when you select the dropdown, you can see all the new ones that we just created. So you have -x, -y, -z, positive x, positive y, positive z. So we've already looked at what happens when you rotate the x to a +1 or -1. Let's look at y. So let's click point positive y, and what that should do is if we look back here, point positive y should be rotating the y to 1. So let's go ahead and we'll compile and simulate. And we're actually going to change the initial position of the sphere in this one. So let's let it compile and simulate. Keep time at 20, but we're actually going to change. So let's have x start at -1 and y start at 0. And let's go ahead and simulate. And we will view the results. So now you can see that it is turning that way. So there you go. And now when you look at it, so your y value is pointed towards +1. And you can try the same thing. So we have all of these with the different values now. So you can go back to the main loop and just keep running it. So we just did positive y, let's try negative y. So we're going to do the same thing. So I've now changed it to point negative y, compile, and simulate. Same thing, we're going to keep it at -1, 0, and let's see what happens. So now you can see it rotating again, and if you look up here, y value is now pointed towards -1. So there you go. That is a different way to declare the variables. It's much more, I'd say, space efficient, because instead of having to have a bunch of the purple variable blocks in the main, you can just have the one corresponding, and you set your values right here. So X, Y, and Z. If you guys want to try it on your own, so you can read through the tutorial, and at the end, it's giving you a challenge. So play around with the different positions and rotate it so that in the simulation you can see each different side of the sphere. So for Z, so the third one, you can set positive Z to 1 and negative Z to negative 1. So try out with all those, see what happens. Just play around with it until you feel comfortable with it. And that is about it.